Don't hurt me.
And it freaks me out.
Oh, it's stone gas, man.
Hello, and welcome to episode number 12 of Region Free. Hope everybody out there is doing well. It's your old buddy Pizzal. And before we start the show tonight, I want to let all of our patrons know that we have got a brand new commentary posted over on our Patreon. I also want to welcome two new patrons, Ruin Leaves and Jonathan, aka Mr. Bombastic Reviews. And he is also a part of the S'mores Indoors show. So thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, Ruin, for becoming Regionaires. We appreciate it. But yeah, so we got a new commentary over there with Lorne and Stone. Go check that out. And lots more great content coming up in the future. Our Patreon link is in the description. So joining me tonight for episode 12 of Region Free, we have got the legendary B-Movie Mike. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's up, Piz? How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. It's going good. How are you?
Doing great. You know, I'm ass deep in spring break and March Madness and all that kind of crazy shit down here in the great state of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hanging in there and trying to have as much fun as I possibly can, because what else are you supposed to do? I mean, if you're not enjoying life, then, you know, hey, get with it.
There you go. There you go. Also with me tonight from the Flesh Wound Hara show, Dan. What's up, Dan?
What's up, Piz? I'm doing great. Excited to be on tonight.
Yeah, good to have you back, and congratulations on achieving 500 episodes of Flesh Wound Horror. My goodness.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everybody that was in the chat. It's a great show.
Yeah, I was there for a little while, and it was definitely a lot of fun.
I wasn't able to be there or send in a video, but 500, man, that's definitely something to celebrate. That's amazing.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it.
No doubt about that. Also with me tonight, I have got Jamie. How's it going, Jamie?
Good, Piz. How are you?
Doing very well. Doing very well.
Good. How are you guys? Mike?
Doing good.
Doing great.
Awesome.
Very cool. Also, we have got Lorne. How's it going, Lorne?
Completely Unprepared, last minute addition to the show. I feel like Admiral James Dale Stockdale at the 1992 vice presidential debate with a bag of ice on my crotch, ready to go.
Yeah. Keep the jewels iced, man.
There you go.
There ain't much choice, my man.
Got to keep them suckers iced down, huh?
Yeah, 2.5 inches of 9 stitches. So there we go.
Ooh,
Jeez, that's not good.
That's a little TMI.
you're living the horror movie tonight.
Yeah, it's Frankenstein where Frankenstein should never be.
There you go.
Oh, goodness. Let's give some shout outs here to those who are watching. I see Steak Sauce in the chat. I see Robert Long. I see our buddy Keith, Captain Halloween. How's it going, Keith? Sean McManus, hello. The Daily Ghost, Media Dude 95, Jeffrey Deshore. My buddy Dave from up in Jersey.
Where all good people come from.
All the best people come from that area. There's no doubt about that. We got Jay the Stingray in the chat tonight also. There's Jonathan, Bombastic Reviews. How's it going, buddy? Thank you for becoming a patron. Richard Skorinsky. How's it going, Richard? Anthony Anderson, hello. Christian was in the chat earlier. So yeah, we've got a pretty lively chat going on already. Hope you all are doing very well. Let's, before we dive into our topics at hand here, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't at least mention the Snyder Cut, which premiered recently. Has anybody on the panel seen the Snyder Cut?
Some of it, like Mpoko, but for a film that's 4 hours long, I saw a small bit.
Dan, was that a no from you?
I watched a little bit of footage, but I'll be honest, the CG was actually really bad.
Really bad.
Worse than people are saying. I've had a lot of defenders of the movie, but I mean, it looked, I mean, I thought it was just the same type of people that complain about CGI and anything, but no, it's bad. It's bad by Hollywood standards.
It makes the Geico lizard look absolutely groundbreaking.
Yes, yes.
I saw the entirety of the film yesterday, and that's one of the things that I was hesitant may not be the proper word, but you know, you've got to block out 4 hours of your life to watch this thing. And it's not easy for me, at least, to just block out 4 hours and so I'm gonna sit here and watch a movie. Now, I will say, I thought maybe one of the nicest things I can say about it is it didn't feel like 4 hours to me. There were draggy moments. Those 3 epilogues at the end, way overboard, way freaking overboard. But it didn't feel like a 4 hour movie to me while watching it. I did think the CGI was pretty bad in a lot of spots. It was bad in the theatrical version too. So, I mean, I kind of expected that. It is a much better movie. There's no question about that. But for it to be worse would have taken a gargantuan effort. You know what I mean? A gargantuan effort. It feels like a real movie with a beginning, middle, and end. The characters are. I totally understand why Ray Fisher was so pissed off, because he's probably he and Ezra Miller as the Flash really got shorthanded in the Whedon cut or whatever. And they've got some of the best moments in the film. I think Flash has the best superhero moment in the film. It's kind of a little dragged down, I thought, by the musical cue. They play that Song of the Siren over it. And it's just it just sounds, I don't know. And of course it's 4 hours, but I'd say at least a good hour of it is just slow motion. I don't mind some slow motion when you're punctuating a particularly dramatic moment or you're going to add some style, but my God, slow motion to the point John Woo would go, dude, for real.
That's bad.
But I did enjoy it. I think this cut has its own set of issues that the other cut didn't have, but it is a far better movie. And I think it's cool that This is what the fans wanted for so long. They petitioned, they hashtagged, they begged, they pleaded. And here it is. And I've not heard anybody say anything negative about it at all. Well, except for the CGI. Most people are just over the moon about it, and I can understand why.
Do you think that maybe the Marvel fandom, DC fandom have blinders on? Because I feel like every movie that comes out now is the best movie in the world, and I just don't get it. I've had several people look me in the eye and tell me that Wonder Woman 84 was the best film they saw last year.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I definitely see it. I see it more with the Marvel universe than I do with the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely I think there's people with the DC universe that have the blinders on too. I see it more with I think I see it more with the Marvel. But
I'm just really afraid of the precedent this sets. Because the thing is, like, I know it's easy to boo studio interference and producers overstepping their bounds, but filmmaking is such a collaborative process. And what I don't want to see is every film become Blade Runner, where there's 18 cuts and it's choose your own adventure at a certain point. I think there's something to be said for letting certain projects just fail if that was its fate to fail, and move on to the next thing where maybe we'll get something kind of pure and beautiful out of it and maybe a little bit more experimental. I'm worried that if the audience gets to make the decisions, we'll end up with films that are just cut and paste, the same thing that they've loved all along, maybe the hero's journey for the 4 millionth time. And I could see that getting very, very destructive very quick.
Well, trust me, we'll never see a resurrection of a movie on this level, I think, ever again. Because even though this movie's been a huge success, Warner Brothers has already said, yep, no, we're not going to do anything else with the Snyderverse is done. Forget about it. Henry Cavill's done as Superman. We're moving on with a new Superman that's going to be helmed by J.J. Abrams. So it's going to be great.
Oh, man, there you go.
Yeah, a new Superman by J.J. Abrams. So let's cut.
Yeah, he did such great things with Star Trek and Star Wars. I can't wait till he gets a hold of Superman.
You just wait. You just wait. I've heard what they're going to do with Superman, and wow, it's going to be painful and interesting. Put it that way.
But it's like I don't go in with any expectations anymore. It's like now it's kind of like I know it's going to be a train wreck. I know it's going to be what I would consider to be horrible, so I just go to be amused by how horrible it really is. I don't have any, and it really sucks as a fan of these type of properties to not be personally involved in them anymore, because you used to. It's part of being a fan, right? You feel kind of like personally involved in the story and the characters, and it's something you like, so therefore it's kind of a part of who you are. And but now it's like I'm just an observer. I'm just here to look at the car wreck and ask the ambulance guys to bring the bodies closer to the car.
Yeah. And I'm all
from a fan's point of view, but that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and I'm all for, like what Nolan did with Batman. Bringing his own flavor to it. Bringing that kind of, crime drama hardened aesthetic to it. I dig that. That's cool. But he kept the core of the characters are still the same. When you start to mess with the characters on a deeper level and try to change who they are and what they represent and stuff like that. It messes things up. And I don't know. I did say I think the last show I said, I think it's cool that we're coming out of a time where the fans are, if you didn't like a fan movie, like a Star Wars or a Star Trek or a movie that's got all this fandom and the fans didn't like it, well, it's the fans' fault. It's the fans' fault because they're toxic, their ists and their isms and their own personal things are foggy. This is a great movie. It's their fault that they don't like it because they've got something wrong with them.
And from a business point of view, when you blame the customers for your failure,
oh yeah,
you're not on the right track.
Yeah.
But hey, that's what I expect now. So again, with J.J. Abrams going into the Superman, I kind of know what to expect. I guess maybe what happened with Star Wars and Halloween eventually just kind of made me disengage altogether. I watched, Halloween 2018 again, and I did not have the same. I mean, I knew what to expect. I accepted it for what it is. And they always say, well, you always have the original. Yeah, and that's true. And I'll just watch the original when I want to watch a Halloween movie. Because these movies, I'm no longer the target audience. I can accept that. I'm going to see Halloween Kills, but I'm going to know what it is. It's not going to be the shock that the first viewing of 2018 was.
And Mike, it really was not a problem. Mike, it really wasn't a problem when you called me in the middle of the night crying. I'll do that for you whenever you need. No problem. I'm there for you, brother.
The past couple of years have been pretty traumatic for the old man, but I pulled through it. I'm good. I'm resilient.
Okay.
I'm going into Halloween Kills. I know exactly what it is. I know exactly what to expect, and I'm not going to have the same visceral reaction to it. I mean, Rob Zombie did that to me first with the first Halloween, right? I mean, I was used to crappy Halloween sequels, let's just be honest, right? But then, raping a corpse in front of me is not exactly what I paid to see, but okay. So by the time I saw the second one, I was like, I kind of knew what to expect. This is going to be, Rob Zombie's Texas Chainsaw Halloween. Okay, right. Cool. And the white horses and the weirdos and the this, that, and the other thing and the hobo Myers. I was like, oh, well, what I expect? It's Rob Zombie.
Right.
Whatever. It is what it is. But I was kind of hoping that the 2018 version would be a little more, back to basics type of thing. And, it is what it is, whatever. But I'm looking at every movie I watch from now on is going to be with that kind of, and it kind of sucks to have to kind of remove yourself from it just to observe it.
Right.
As what it is, and it's kind of a cold, detached way of doing it. And I'm not real happy about that, but I didn't cause the situation. I'm just reacting to it.
Here's one thing to play kind of devil's advocate for Lauren's point of view is now that we got the Snyder Cut, now it's like we got to have every alternate cut of every movie that's ever been made. The NC-17 Mrs. Doubtfire, the air cut of Suicide Squad. We want, the original cut of this movie, the original cut. I mean, when you go on, just look on Twitter, some movie is trending because they want the fill in the blank cut of that movie. And I mean, it's just not the only reason this happened is because HBO launched their own streaming service. I mean, literally, that's why this is happening.
And it's like we just handed audience cards out to the entire world. It used to, before a film comes out, they have a test screening and they hand out cards looking for people's ideas, and then they go and change the movie based on that because the studios have all the integrity in the world. Well, we just handed cards to everyone who ever watches a movie to have their say on what Hollywood does. I think that's really dangerous. Because how does if you're going to hand 80-year-olds in the Midwest cards for David Lynch's next film, guess what they're going to do to him? And maybe not Lynch himself, but I'm saying like the next David Lynch.
And that's why my attitude is, if I love the film, chances are I already own it. I can watch it whenever I want to. And if there's something new that comes out that I actually like, imagine the pleasant surprise I'm going to experience. So it's whatever. I've aged out of anybody giving a shit. They're not going to hand me a card. They don't care what I think. I'm okay with that.
I think on the Halloween front, we just need to accept the inevitability that it's going to be Michael Myers in space, and that's just where things are going. Cyborg, Jamie Lee Curtis, boom.
Mm-hmm. Just when we thought Busta Rhymes was as far as they could go.
Oh, can you imagine bringing him at the end credits and just dropping his trick or treat line?
Why not?
It would be good.
I half expected him to show up in the last one. Why not? I mean, they gave Jamie Lee Curtis his line.
It would
Instead
be
of trick or treat, motherfucker. It was Happy Halloween, Michael. Same thing.
A dream sequence. Just like open it with him, and then just I don't know.
Michael Myers having a nightmare of Busta Rhymes whooping his ass.
Go meta with it. Yeah, I was going to say just.
If you're gonna get stupid, get all the way stupid.
It's like you guys read the same leaked synopsis I did.
Wow, that's bad.
Oh well. Beginning of the third act. Let me know what you think.
Man, I'll have my popcorn ready. I will.
Oh yeah.
I do recommend the Snyder Cut. It is a much better movie. It lacks a lot of the ideological baggage that you see in a lot of just every movie these days, which is a good thing, I think. And it's just a superhero movie. Yeah, it's a little obnoxious. Yeah, it's a little pretentious. Yeah, it's long. But I had a good time watching it. And I think Snyder knew, like, okay, this is it, man. Everything's changing after this, so I'm going to just throw these 3 different epilogues. Well, it's the same epilogue that was at the end of Justice League with Lex Luthor, which they should have just threw that one out. That just not even include that one. Just throw that one out and have the sequence with the Joker and Batman talking to each other, the Leto Joker and the Batman, which confirmed my theory about the Jared Leto Joker that I've had since Suicide Squad. Confirmed. And then there was another one where Batman talks to some other superhero I've never even heard of before, and that one just was odd, and I don't know.
Was it like Clue, where it had like alternate endings that they just kept playing?
No, it was.
My god, that would be the best thing if Tim Curry came out and just introduced each ending.
Oh, that would
I'd be down to watch 4 hours of that.
No, it was like Snyder just went like, okay, look, this is it. I'll never work in this universe again. I'm just going to throw it all at the screen and just throw it all out there. Here's everything. It's like he knows everything's changing, and this. Here you go. This is what may have happened if things progressed onward under my, helm, with me at the helm. But I don't think that's that's just not going to happen now. So
I haven't seen it. I didn't see the Whedon cut. I'm not. I don't have a pony in the race. If people like it, great, cool. I mean, I really don't care either way.
I haven't seen it either, not either cut. And who are they going to replace everybody now? I mean, Batman, Spider-Man.
I think, yeah.
I don't know what universe it was what. So, I mean, it seems like they're constantly redoing it. It's just getting tiring. And
what if we had 4 Spider-Mans now in the last 15, 20 years?
Yeah, something like that. It's been
4 or 5.
How many Batmans has there been? 8, probably.
There's been a bunch.
All right, who hasn't been Batman yet? All right, come on. That
was one time at a party, and I was paid for that.
I say we dust off the old canon Spider-Man script that Toby Hooper was going to direct, and let's make that movie. Let's make that movie.
You want to get me excited? You give me the canon cut.
Yes, exactly.
I'd like to see Nicolas Cage as that Superman. Remember that old Superman?
Yeah. Yep.
I would really actually probably watch something like that. He's so wild.
I would.
Don't you think, Jamie, that would the Nicolas Cage Superman? Say what you will about it, but Tim Burton, Nick Cage Superman would have been a lot more interesting than the Brandon Routh, Kevin Spacey movie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It would have 100
been
times more interesting.
Yeah, it would have been dark, because Nicolas Cage has this very dark demeanor about him, and I would have liked it. I think it might have made it more interesting for me to watch superhero stuff. Yeah. I do like Blade.
Yeah. Well, we will have a new Blade out here pretty soon too. Mm-hmm. A new. Yeah. With all new characters, a new Blade, and all that. So,
can we just get a Tomb of Dracula movie instead? You get the character, but you get the real story from the comics. Can we do that?
And we're gonna get Morbius. I've wanted a Morbius movie forever, but it doesn't. I don't know. It didn't look that the trailer doesn't look that promising to me. But I'll reserve judgment. And speaking of vampires, let's dive into the topics at hand. Well, how's that for a segue?
That's a good segue.
That's right on
pro, man. That's pro.
That's right.
Right on my toes tonight. Jeez. Jamie, what have you got for us tonight?
I want to talk a little bit about gosh darn it. I want to talk a little bit about John Carpenter's vampires, and I'm going to be doing a whole series on vampire movies that are like Western vampire movies, which I really enjoy and might be my favorite type of vampire movie. And some of the ones I'm going to pick might be surprising because they might not at first look like a vampire, like a Western type vampire movie, but there are elements in it to me that make them sort of like a Western vampire movie. But we are going to start out with John Carpenter, and I love John Carpenter's vampires. I know that it's supposedly, not the best, and a lot of people don't like it. And I realize that the plot is really shaky. That's not the reason that I like it though. I really like, one, I like James Woods. His over the top performances are always good. He can tone it down when he wants to. But in this one, he's so campy and so over the top and so comic book like that it fits the movie and it fits the character. And I really think it fits the style that John Carpenter used for the movie, which to me seems very much like a comic book type style or a manga type style. If you look at the way he frames everything, I think it looks very like those old horror comic books that I used to read as a kid, Cheryl Lee is captivating. She's beautiful. She puts on a good performance. I love the way that the vampires are so vicious. All vampire movies, I'm tired. I don't want to see any more vampire movies where the vampires are just, real weak about it, how they bite and how they go after people. I don't want to see any more sparkling vampires. I want vicious, nasty vampires who are blood's gonna spurt out and they're gonna rip you to shreds. That's what I want to see. So for me, John Carpenter's vampires kind of satisfies that because in the beginning scene, it starts right out with the action. They go right into they show you how these vampire hunters are hunting these vampires. They got this big huge truck with this big winch on it, and they pull them out into the sun and they burn up. It's awesome. I love that. And then the party scene is absolutely brutal. The first time I saw that, I saw it in the theater and I was like, this is brutal. This is great. This is what I've been wanting to see. Because I don't remember very many vampire movies coming out in the 90s at all. Also, is it Daniel Baldwin? Is that the one, his name? I don't care what anybody says. He's a good actor. He was good in that. I thought he was fantastic. He made the movie more enjoyable for me. And the dynamic between him and Cheryl Lee's character, really, it was touching to me. I like how he wanted to protect her and he wanted to be there for her. And he ends up falling in love with her, even though in the beginning, they obviously weren't getting along because he punched her because she bit him. But it's still, to me, it was touching the way that he decided, well, you know what? She put me in this situation, and he started to develop feelings for her. It was awesome. I like that. I also like the music. I think the music has that Carpenter feel. And it also had a Western kind of feel. That's why I think he has this something in him that a lot of his movies do tend to have sort of an underlying Western feel to them. Even Christine, I don't know what it is. It seems to me that there's something about his framing that it just screams Western to me.
He's always been a huge fan of John Ford and Howard Hawks, and he said he had a John Wayne bumper sticker on his car when he was younger for two reasons: one, to piss off his hippie friends, and the other one because he was actually a fan of the guy's movies. He loves westerns, so there you go.
That makes sense. See, his music too always to me had this sort of Western underlying feel to it. Even in like Big Trouble in Little China has a Western feel to it too. Even though it's not a Western, it's got this kung fu element, but there's something underneath it all that just screams Western to me. And I absolutely love John Carpenter. Now, The Ward,
best movie, his best work.
I mean, what else has he done since? I mean, he's done The Ward, but what else has he done since Vampires? Because I don't really, was he involved in the remake of Precinct 13? I can't remember.
I think he cashed the check.
Yeah.
He cashed a check. All right.
Yeah.
Ghosts of Mars, the one movie that he made
Yeah.
that pretty much everybody universally shits on except me, because
love
it still has his sense of humor.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think of it as a movie, sure, it would have been better as Escape from Mars with Snake Plissken in it, but that's
Yeah.
it's not what it was. It is what it is. And, you know, I enjoy it for what it is. I'm not going to defend it as the greatest cinematic, you know, production ever from John Carpenter, but it's still a John Carpenter movie. And even The Ward, which I think has less of his sense of humor. It has I could watch The Ward and not even really realize it's a John Carpenter movie, which is bad for me as a fan of John Carpenter.
Right.
Because normally you watch a John Carpenter movie and with the music and everything, the writing, you know, it's his work. But so for me, The Ward's at the bottom if I have to put one at the bottom. But Ghosts of Mars, I enjoy that one.
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Ghosts of Mars is on my list of movies to talk about. You know, I'm going to be talking about a lot of movies that a lot of people maybe not like, but I do. That's on my list, and I really like it. I really like it a lot. I know it's cheesy, but I like that.
Yeah, I never hated Ghosts of Mars. I think when you're a John Carpenter and you have a masterpiece like The Thing under your belt, everything's going to be compared to that. I mean, Ghosts of Mars is not a great movie, but it entertained me. I mean, what else do you expect from that premise?
I actually prefer, just on a strictly entertainment level, give me Ghosts of Mars over Vampires. I think Vampires is the far better movie, but Ghosts of Mars is just so wacky and, you know.
Yeah.
As much as I like Ghosts of Mars, I'm going to have to give the nod to Vampires. Vampires to me is just a movie I can rewatch over and over again for the same reasons Jamie's been speaking of. James Woods is amazing in that movie. I mean, he's done far more dramatic, Oscar-worthy performances in other films, but let's not forget he was also in Videodrome, so he's well versed in genre.
Oh yeah,
and he really kicks ass as Crow in this, and Jack Crow. And his relationship with the head vampire and the way they go at each other. And I do love the viciousness of the vampires. And it's just the vampire hunters. It's very Carpenter-esque, their relationship with each other and how they're like in between. They're working for good, but yet they have kind of almost a neutral attitude, but they hate vampires. And the movie's just great. I think it's really great.
Jamie made a good point about the just vicious vampires, which is what I tend to prefer. I was not like an Anne Rice guy growing up by any means. I loved, the more savage vampires you got in like Ray Garton's Live Girls or
30 Days of Night.
Yeah.
I love that one. I love that one.
John Skipp's Light at the End, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I like that stuff. I mean, I don't mind. For me, it's hard with vampires once you get past that golden era, after Hammer closed shop. And but I do really appreciate vampires. My biggest issue, and not to dump on Twilight because everybody does that, but I mean, it's not made for me. But you take the curse and the tragedy out of the vampire, and you take the viciousness out of the vampire. What's the point? You live forever, you sparkle, you have relationship problems. I mean,
you're depressed.
About
it.
I will say this. I just typed in Live Girls into Google.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
That's a book, by the way, a novel.
Yes.
I had to narrow it down to Live Girls Vampire Movie. Is it also called We Are the Night?
Oh, it's a novel. It's
a novel.
Oh, okay. Well, there's actually a German horror film that's also known as Live Girls, and it's also known as We Are the Night.
Okay, I think I know that one. I think, yeah.
Speaking of novels, however, one of the big reasons that I don't like John Carpenter's Vampires is because the original John Steakley novel is an absolute classic of the vampire genre, and all the interesting things he did in that book are just jettisoned to do a kind of a to kind of do a Kurt Russell imitation, basically, for the movie. And I really say that, if you like the movie, pick up the novel and read it. It's much more about the corruption of the church that's paying for the eradication of vampires and how that's not what it appears on the surface. It's a grimier look at the situation. It's a far more interesting premise than what's in the movie. Once you get outside the first scene of the movie, they become vastly different works. Characters become a lot more one-dimensional. So I always had the problem of I read the novel first. And
well, that'll kill you every time.
Yeah.
not every time, but most times. There's a
Most
couple
times.
times actually that you
90%.
get surprised. But I just rewatched one of my favorite adaptations, and the film I would call the scariest film ever made, which is The Haunting of Julia. And there's an adaptation that lives up to the novel. It goes beat for beat, and it does justice all the way through. So it's possible, it can be done, but it's a rarity. And in this case, oh my God, no, it just completely fails in direct comparison for me.
Is The Haunting of Julia available anywhere? Because I was looking for that movie
Legally, no.
Okay, I was looking for that movie weeks ago, and I couldn't find it anywhere.
Your best bet is to search under its British title, Full Circle, and you'll find some less than legal versions floating around on places that might be auction sites.
Okay.
I might leave a link for you later in the private chat.
Okay. That works.
Not confirming anything. I think it's the scariest film ever made. I think it's pitch perfect. It's, if you like ghost stories, it's hard to beat, and has one of the most disturbing opening sequences in any film ever.
I can appreciate you as a writer being more sensitive to things like that than some other people might be. I've learned a long time ago that if you go to see a movie based on a book, don't expect the book on screen. And I don't have that attachment to the written version. I can enjoy both for what they are. Like, I enjoyed Robert Heinlein's Starship Troopers as a book. The movie was quite a bit different, but entertaining in its own way.
Yeah, I think my problem is that we'll never get Steakley's Vampires now. I think that's where my problem lies. I could deal with the Carpenter film on its own being its own thing. That's fine. But I really always wanted that adapted properly, and we'll never get that now.
When you see John Carpenter, you're going to get his version.
Oh, yeah.
And, so that doesn't surprise me. I mean, look at The Thing. That's arguably his masterwork, but it broke him. I mean, the reaction to that film literally broke him. And the John Carpenter that existed prior to The Thing is far different than the guy that made movies after The Thing.
Hallelujah.
I think you could see that very easily if you were a fan of his early work. By the time he got to Vampires, all give a shit was gone. I mean, Escape from LA, I enjoy. I understand why people don't like it, but I still enjoy it. At that point, John Carpenter, he was smoking an ounce of weed a day and gave no fucks about anything. And he made a movie to entertain himself. I just so happen to be entertained by it too. And I feel the same way about Vampires and Ghost of Mars. And I don't know what the Ward was, but that was weird even for him because it didn't have his distinct voice, like I said before.
It was, it felt like just another horror movie. It was, maybe some people would find it fine, but it was just boring, average and boring.
It didn't even have his sense of humor to perk it up. There was nothing.
I would never guess it was a Carpenter flick. And
that's the worst thing you can say about it.
And not to mention that the plot I figured it out in the first 5 minutes, what was happening. I realized she was a multiple personality, like right away. So it was boring for me to get, had to sit through it to the end to find that out. And I already knew. So it's iffy.
That's normally something you don't associate with a Carpenter film is boring.
Yeah.
No matter what degree you may think it's good or bad, they're usually never boring. Vampires is definitely not boring. It's highly entertaining to me.
I think there was definitely some cocaine or something in the popcorn the night I saw Escape from LA because I really liked it in theaters. And I was telling people, I was getting into fights with people. They'd be like, no, that film sucks, man. I'm like, no, there's all this crazy shit. He's surfing and shooting people. It's great. Man, you don't know. And then I saw it when it came out on video and I was like, oh my God, this film is horrible. So I don't know. It was just being in that theater that night. I had a great time, but I have since joined the dark side, and it unfortunately falls onto the side of the latter, less appreciable John Carpenter for me.
Last time I watched that movie, I was roaring laughing at the surfing scene because the CGI is just it's so bad. I mean, it was bad then, but it's really bad really bad.
It looks like
now.
something out of Justice League, right?
Yeah, it looks. Yeah.
There's me like, holy shit, what the hell's Peter Fonda doing in this movie? This is amazing. I don't know.
We have
Bruce Campbell. Bruce Campbell's in it. You got Steve Buscemi, however you pronounce his name. That was great. I don't know, man.
The cast is top notch. I think it's an exciting and good movie. But man, that surfing.
The
scene
budget,
is sweet.
yeah, definitely, you could see the seams.
yeah. We have got Dag Fark in the chat apparently from Halloween, from Rob Zombie's Halloween 1 and 2. Hello. I'm sure it's 100% legit.
Hey, Dag.
I don't know.
Love your work outside of the Halloween films. Oh, wait.
Well, he was in that Will Smith movie.
Yeah, he was in that Will Smith
superhero.
movie. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I forget what that movie was called now.
I believe he was also in a classic called Run, Bitch, Run. So, just to correct you, Lauren.
I missed that one.
I stand corrected, much like on Escape from LA.
Hey, no, if you hate it, you hate it, man. I'll watch it for you.
But I didn't.
It's all good.
But I didn't. That's the thing. I've never so sharply changed my opinion on a film.
Hancock, that's the name of the film. Thank you,
Yeah.
David.
I like that one too.
But yeah, Jamie, that's sounds like a very interesting series of reviews you've got in store for us.
Good choice for your leadoff too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
The
Thank you.
vampire Western motif. There's some good movies with that motif. So yeah, it should be interesting going forward.
I find it extremely interesting, and I've been thinking about it a lot. And I thought I think I want to do them all separate. So
Cool. Yeah, very cool. All right,
awesome.
great review, Jamie. Thank you much.
Thank you.
I would like to talk about a couple of things tonight. I've actually got 2 topics I want to talk about tonight, but I think I can get through them relatively quickly. One of my favorite actors recently celebrated his 63rd birthday last Sunday. Why is he my favorite actor? Because when you talk about actors who are chameleons, an actor who can play literally anything, actors who have range, get a load of this. This particular actor has played Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols. He's played Beethoven. He's played Lee Harvey Oswald. He's played Dracula. He's played a white pimp who thinks he's black. And he's played Winston Churchill. That's range. That's some range right there.
There's only one person you could be talking about.
Only one human being on this planet I could be talking about, and that is Gary Oldman. So whether he's playing a good guy, a bad guy, whether he's in an R-rated film or part of the Nolan Batman trilogy or Harry Potter, he always brings his A game. He's always intense, and when he's on screen, you just can't take your eyes off of him. Yeah, great freaking actor. Any of you guys, your thoughts on Gary Oldman or any particular favorite Gary Oldman performances?
Oh, wow. There's so many. I will say I just recently watched Mank, and so far he would be my pick to win the Best Actor nomination again. Herman Mankiewicz, who of course was the screenwriter on Citizen Kane. If you're a fan of 1930s, early 1940s cinema, it's very well worth watching. Oldman can do anything. I would also throw out his performance in Fifth Element. It's a good one.
I was going to mention that one.
Zorg.
Zorg. Jean-Baptiste Emmanuel Zorg.
See these little things here. They all have a job.
Yeah. I think the first thing I saw him in, it was either True Romance or Dracula. Either one of those performances are just captivating. But I mean, he's just so, he can do literally anything. I mean,
He's a morpher. He can morph. It's amazing. There are very few actors and actresses in Hollywood that I think can morph like that. Maybe Johnny Depp might be one of them who's really good. Oh,
are you kidding?
Oh, yeah. I'm totally into that.
Johnny Depp now and everything.
Well, I don't know. I think the way he does Jack Sparrow is pretty intense and pretty unique, and the way he decided and his I'm sorry, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, pretty good.
I love that movie.
The Ninth Gate, pretty good.
I love that movie too.
I mean, I really do think Johnny Depp has an ability to morph. You know, What's Eating Gilbert Grape. I can go through a bunch that I think he's like morphed. But we're not talking about him. So Gary Oldman, I think my favorite of his has to be in True Romance. It's really small. It's a tiny little part, but he's so fantastic in it that it's absolutely memorable. And it's the reason why when I saw The Professional, because I don't think I saw Dracula. I didn't see Dracula when it first came out. It took me about 3 years, I think, to see Dracula. I saw it on VHS. When me and my friends all rented it, but I hadn't seen him in that yet. So I only knew him from True Romance. And when I saw The Professional, I was like, oh my God, he's so different in this one. I couldn't believe it. So I think my two favorites of his are probably True Romance, The Professional, and I'll give The Fifth Element a special mention because I really, really liked him in that too.
Yeah.
I know the first thing I saw him in was Sid and Nancy. Being a huge fan of that genre of music, I saw that in the theater. I'd already known the story. I was well versed on the actions of the Sex Pistols, and was a big fan of their music. So yeah, that's my first experience with Mr. Oldman. He's an actor's actor. He's like an Oscar caliber character actor almost.
Right.
The guy can just do anything, and you know if his name's on the cast list, you know he's going to be good. He could take any material and make it better, and you know that. Yeah, he's one of the greatest of our generation or any generation, really. I think he's amazing
of all time.
Yeah.
The biggest compliment I can give him is that when I think of Sid Vicious's version of My Way, I do not think of Sid Vicious's version of My Way. I think of the Gary Oldman performance of Sid Vicious performing My Way.
Like he was better than the actual guy. Yeah,
he replaced a memory for me.
Yeah,
I mean that's pretty insane. Yeah, I mean his Lee Harvey Oswald in JFK looks, sounds, and feels like documentary footage. It's different. Like, you know, Costner's doing a role in it, and he's good. Don't get me wrong. That's a good performance from Costner, but it's a role, and you can see. But because there's so much documentary footage in JFK, the fact that you could get Oldman to be just as grounded and real and have such presence in these quick clips. I don't think he has a scene longer than like 40 seconds, but he sells that movie. And I think there's a lot of people can think of kind of like the everything meme from Leon or something like that, and miss the fact that he can go big with a performance and it doesn't become caricature. He can go subtle and seek into the background like he does in JFK so well. He knows how to put a performance into a work where it needs to be, and that's very different from there's great actors like a Robert De Niro is a great actor, at least. You know, vintage De Niro was a great actor, but he's showy. He can't be the actor in the background. He has to be in the spotlight. Oldman's that rare breed that can exist anywhere on the film frame and actually enhance the film for his presence.
Yeah.
He's one of those actors to me, like you mentioned Kevin Costner. Well, you immediately recognize who that is no matter what movie you watch. It's Kevin Costner comes on screen. Oh, that's Kevin Costner. Before he even says a word. A lot of times with Gary Oldman, if you don't know he's in the movie, it takes you a few scenes to figure out, holy shit, that's Gary Oldman. Because he blends so well. He just like becomes part of, like what Lauren was saying, he prefers to be in the shadows in the background, not be so showy. He's there to serve the material, not necessarily himself. And that's a rare quality in leading actors.
And, you know, you were talking about how great he was as Sid Vicious. He actually does not like his performance as Sid Vicious. He
didn't like punks.
I saw an interview. He's like, I can't watch it. I cringe. I can't watch it. I cringe. So Some people have mentioned the fact that he was Mason Verger in Hannibal. I didn't know that until I was watching the movie and I recognized his voice. Thinking, is that Gary Oldman?
Exactly.
Gary Oldman.
And that makes me wish they'd adapted that novel from the book too, because there would be a lot more really grotesque versions.
Oh God, that is a twisted book. Wow.
People do not. If you only know the movie,
Yeah.
and you like really uncomfortable sexual gore, you need to read the book.
I also loved him in The Professional, aka Leon. So people have mentioned that in the chat. I thought he was great in that. And it's funny. I used to take those pills that he keeps in his jacket. They look like Tylenol sinus pills from back in the day. I used to take those all the time. So after I watched that movie, I'd put one of those in my mouth and crack it and do the whole, Anyway, that's just me.
You know what that reminded me of? That reminded me of Frank Booth with that tank from Blue Velvet, the way that he would suck that and then he'd like do something freaky right after. That's what that reminded me of every time I watched it. That's what I think of.
Piz, I think to cap this, we need to give our best Gary Oldman everything scream.
Bring me everyone. Who? Or no, what did the guy say?
Yeah, bring me everyone.
Bring me everyone. In the
everyone?
Everyone?
Everyone!
He does. He's so expressive with his face. Everyone.
He shakes and he gets like all, I love that.
Yeah,
it's good.
I love when he's in the bathroom with Natalie Portman. She's brought all those guns and that pizza, and he's like, "Let me guess, Italian." Great. And of course, in the one scene where he shoots up the family, and then he walks in while he's listening to Beethoven, and he's gesturing and all. Great stuff.
I really even like him in the Batman movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he can do big characters and he can do a small character, but he brings the intensity and the professionalism, and you just can't, you can't take your eyes off of him when he's on screen.
Did you see
special mention of Sirius Black?
Oh yes. Did you see the footage of him as Winston Churchill behind the scenes just dancing? It's hilarious. No. That dude is entertaining off screen as well.
There's a lot of fun stuff in the making of Dracula, where he's trying to show Coppola, what were you thinking casting Keanu Reeves in this? He's in these scenes with Keanu Reeves, and he's messing up on purpose to make Keanu Reeves kind of be, and you can, I don't know if he was doing it on purpose for Keanu Reeves, but it's kind of he's like, I'm Keanu Reeves is those children of the night. Those are horror. What? Dracula. I love Keanu Reeves, but that was a little miscasting by Coppola on that one, I think.
I think most of us in the theater were thinking, what the fuck is he doing in this movie?
Yeah.
I
know where the bastard sleeps.
Dude, you're like a vampire.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm probably the only one here who didn't care about his performance because I was just looking at him.
Yeah.
I don't care about the performance.
The other thing I wanted to talk about, it was Gary Oldman's birthday. Also, one of my favorite directors passed away this month, back in 1999, Stanley Kubrick. And the film of his that I specifically want to talk about is one we've talked about before back in the Sausage Factory days. But I recently went down this very long rabbit hole in regards to The Shining. And several hours of my life just magically disappeared. Of all of Kubrick's films, The Shining has to be the one that's been the most analyzed, and to really a ridiculous degree. If you watch that Room 237 documentary and you can get beyond the first 15-20 minutes of it, my hat's off to you. I couldn't make it beyond the first 15-20 minutes of that movie.
I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I did. Unfortunately, so did I.
But there are so many theories about The Shining that there's so many different rabbit holes that you can go down with those theories. And I think a lot of them really do hold water, because Kubrick was said to be obsessive with detail. Everything that's in the frame is meant to be there in that exact spot, positioned the way that it is. And I mean, it was a grueling shoot. It was over a year to complete. Kubrick subjected the casting crew to 50, 60 takes for some scenes. And something about the movie clearly stuck with Kubrick too, because years after the film's release, he had yet to let it go. And I've actually got a little clip here as a visual aid to show that Kubrick had a difficult time letting The Shining go. Here we go.
Since you brought up Stanley Kubrick, David Hollander just told me a story about you and Stanley Kubrick. Can you tell this story about when you met Stanley Kubrick?
Oh yeah. Well, I met Stan. I was in London and at EMI Elstree, and I heard that Stanley was mixing a film, in the dubbing stage, and so I walked in and looked on the screen, and it was The Shining, and a couple of guys escorted me out really way fast, and then I said, if you could, tell Mr. Kubrick that it's, Toby Hooper. I had no idea if he knew who the hell that was, but he rushed out and embraced me, wow. and he had bought a 35 millimeter print of Chainsaw. And so had Ridley Scott and a lot of directors had that were making horror films. The interesting part of this story, though, is that The Shining had come out and played out 2 years prior to that moment. And Stanley was still mixing the film. I mean, he by God was going to get it right. And he was way cool. A lot like.
So 2 years after The Shining had been out, and keep in mind, when it premiered in 1980, it was not a critical or commercial success at all. But 2 years later, Kubrick is still working on that movie. So there was something about it that clearly stuck with him too. If you would like to go down any number of rabbit holes with The Shining, I would highly recommend Rob Ager's channel to get that journey started. You can look up Rob Ager, A-G-E-R, or what's it called? Collative Learning. Mm-hmm. He's done some excellent deep dives into that film, and it's really interesting because I think a lot of those theories hold water when you talk about him being inspired by, Carl Jung and all this stuff with, the Native American genocide. And there's also some really creepy stuff having to do with Jack and Danny's relationship. That's really only kind of, they don't get into it too deep, but it's a lot of subliminal imagery that, you may not pick up on the first couple of times you watch it. Then when you go back and watch it, you go, holy crap. So yeah, and I think that it's a testament to what a genius Stanley Kubrick was and how great The Shining is that we're still talking about that movie 41 years later, and people are still analyzing it and coming up with brand new theories about it 41 years later. So
that movie destroyed poor Shelley Duvall. She was never the same after that. That was a grueling shoot for sure. And I know I'm on the pro side. I know there's a lot of detractors for the film. I'm a huge fan myself. Maybe it was just when I saw it. I was a little young when it came out. I think it came out in 80.
Yeah. I
may have seen it a couple years after that because I was only 12 in 80. But when I saw it, it captivated me. I mean, it's a hard film to watch because you have to be in the mood. But and this may be blasphemy to book champions out there, but I enjoy it more than King's novel. That's just me. If you disagree, that's fine. That's great. I mean, that you enjoy what you enjoy, but I really, really, really love that movie.
And Mike and I are on the same team here. I think the film is a better film than the book is a novel. Although I think it's almost foolhardy to compare them because they so radically different. But I do think the film is a better film than the book is a book. So I would agree with you, Mike.
Me too.
See, it happens. It's not just with vampires.
Yeah.
Me too, though. I definitely, I mean, I've read the book 10 times at least. I have it sitting right here. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And it is often when people ask me, what is your favorite movie? I will say, I either say Exorcist or I say The Shining. And a lot of times it is The Shining because for me, I think the Jack Nicholson performance in that just always wins out even over the book for me. And I love the book. I do. I like the story in the book. I like the way I like what he's trying to say. I understand, the alcoholism part of it and the whole thing. And I like, of course, Dr. Sleep, the sequel. I love both books, but I see it as it's like a separate entity to the movie. I see Stanley Kubrick's movie as its own thing. And I kind of, it's still my favorite movie of all time. So I think I prefer the movie a little bit over the book.
I would also say that I prefer the movie over the book. Not taking anything away from the book, but movie's a masterpiece.
It is.
I think Stephen King said that he sums it up. He's in the movie. The Overlook freezes. In my book, it explodes. My book is warm. The movie is cold.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I've not read the Shining novel, but I think I would probably prefer the movie also. Just knowing what I do know about the novel, and I do think the movie is a masterpiece. Maybe slightly flawed, but still, I think it's a masterpiece. It's great.
Some people
great
complain about Nicholson being in the film. I think that's a role that not too many other people could have played.
Right.
I mean,
right.
Not of course nobody could play it the way he did it. He's Jack Nicholson, but still the way he handled the material. He's the hotel is the main character, but he is the most compelling human character. Watching him descend into madness slowly, he just to me it's a tour de force for him. It's a great role.
So I mean, not to go deep into any theory, but the film very much is told from Danny's point of view, and that's not the case with the book. And we know that this is the case because we are literally told in the movie it's from his point of view. We hear thoughts inside. He hears from other people inside his head. We get point of view shots constantly from him. He looks into mirrors constantly, and that's the reason why, when he's traversing the floors, the rooms, the geography of the hotel ceases to make sense because we're in his head. That's a big departure. And then you add the other thematic elements that I believe are there, which we don't need to get into, and you quickly see that Kubrick was making a film with an entire different set of thematics than King put on the page. And I don't think that King can look at the work and he sees like benchmarks of his novel, but he can't see his novel. And that has to be frustrating as a creator. I get it. But again, forest for the trees, look at what Kubrick created.
Yeah.
King was almost incensed because he felt like Kubrick rewrote his story.
Well, he did.
And how
King
dare
turned
you?
in a screenplay and Kubrick threw it out.
How dare you do that to my work? I don't know if that's a personal thing or if that's common amongst creative types or whatever, but you kind of have to understand that when things are adapted, things have to change, and you may not always like those changes because what works in a novel form may not work on screen. Film is a visual medium. Novels are words that you visualize in your brain, and it's completely different.
Also, I think that the messages that they're trying to get across are different. Stephen King's message is definitely more about alcoholism. And I think that Kubrick's message is more about abuse and isolation and insanity. But definitely Stephen King's book is about alcoholism and how that affects the person.
Maybe from that point of view, it was a more personal work. And that's why he took it so personally.
Exactly.
That Kubrick, messed with his story.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, let's move on from the Overlook and all those rabbit holes. But I do encourage, if you are a fan of The Shining, do take a journey down a couple of rabbit holes with those theories. I think it only enhances the movie when you go back and rewatch it.
Just be careful. You might end up going down the wrong hole.
And
Nobody likes that.
and that is a 4-drink minimum.
You may end up in a bedroom with a guy in a bear costume.
Eek.
Yikes.
There's people that actually like that. Let's not shame the furry community.
Let's not shame the furry community. Maybe The Shining was spearheaded the furry community. Did you ever think about that?
Launched it. Absolutely. I agree.
I think the banana splits are responsible for that.
Oh, there you go. Chuck E. Cheese, maybe. I don't know.
There you go. Well, let's move on and let's see what Garrett has for us this week in the Rad Report.
Rad Report. Rad Report. Rad Report.
What's up, Garrett back here and interrupting your regularly scheduled program to bring you the newest edition of the Rad Report, where I go through the physical media news and releases for the next couple weeks. All right, first from Scream Factory, they have a release of Raw coming out this week, and also finally the long-awaited collector's edition of Event Horizon. So I would definitely take a look at what that has to offer, because I know a lot of the footage that everybody was clamoring for did not make it to the disc due to the footage being lost. All right, next up is Arrow, and next week we have the Blu-ray re-release, I guess. I'm not sure exactly what's different here, but it's a steelbook edition of American Werewolf in London. All right, and also next week, too, Severin's releasing Day of the Beast and Dance with the Devil, and those definitely would be ones that I want to check out. All right, so now on to the news. We've got a couple things going on here. We have Scream Factory announce their limited edition, back to those 1,000 units for a double feature of Amazon and Barbarian Queen. I think those are just Roger Corman films that are being upgraded to Blu-ray. They just must have these titles that they're trying to get rid of at this point. The next one is going to be the Big Bust Out, which sadly, I'm not going to be dipping on either of those two things, but they are limited edition. It might be worth picking up. It looks like Speed is coming to 4K, along with the Indiana Jones collection as well. Okay, the last piece of news actually takes place tonight. Well, Friday morning at 12:01. They are going into their halfway to Black Friday sale. They're going to have a bunch of new announcements. They've got a couple box sets coming out. They have a new limited edition set. I think some 4Ks as well. So definitely be on the lookout for that. As you can see, not only did I wear this outfit for Piz today, but also I'm going to be nice and cozy because I'm going to get ready to do a little live buying on that site tonight. All right, that's everything I have for this week. Now get back to Region Free.
Yes. Thank you, Garrett, for another Rad Report. Those are always awesome, keeping us up to date on everything going on in the world of physical media. And Garrett rocking that very attractive Don't Panic dinosaur jammy outfit. If only those came in big and tall, I'd have bought 4 or 5. I'd be wearing one right now. But, didn't happen. I did actually receive the new Event Horizon Blu-ray in the mail today. I'm looking forward to diving into that. Lots of new extras. That footage, that cut footage, I don't know if this is true or not. It was housed in a salt mine in Transylvania. Is that true? And
too crazy not to be.
And when they went, like somebody actually went and found it, and it was just too far gone. It couldn't be. It was just too far gone. So
I can't understand why. What better place to put film than a salt mine? Genius.
Gary Oldman's got it in his private stash now. It's all
there we go. There we go. That's what happened there. Now I have heard. The word on the street is with this Vinegar Syndrome sale. Vinegar Syndrome has apparently got a couple of big releases coming out very soon. One of them I've heard is a quote unquote huge release. I don't know if that'll be announced tonight or not, but they are announcing 3 brand new releases and, like Garrett said, like a new box set and stuff. But there's 2 new releases that they aren't going to announce tonight. They're holding off on those. So I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see what Vinegar Syndrome is going to be dropping for us here in the near future. So we've got a couple of pretty big releases coming out. Again, one of them I've been told is quote unquote huge. So we shall see.
Event Horizon is one of those movies that I really enjoy. I don't know what the pulse is of it out there and amongst film nerds, but I've always really enjoyed the flick. I think it's funny. I have a funny story about it. My son's favorite movie growing up was Jurassic Park. We must have watched it like 4,000 times. You know how kids are. But then when I showed him Event Horizon, he just could not get into it because Dr. Grant. I can't take this movie seriously. That's Dr. Grant.
Right.
So apparently Sam Neill does not have the same chameleon-like properties of Gary Oldman. But besides that, I still enjoy the film, and I've always wanted to see the more, hardcore cut that they. Because apparently some of the footage was so bizarre that it was X rating territory. I don't know what the hell it could have been. I mean, we're just talking about, I don't know, we're talking about blood orgies in hell or something, or what was going on. But I've always wanted to see a fully restored version of that movie, because what I saw I already liked. So I'm pretty sure I would like even more if I could see the full.
Actually, I think that is most of the footage that was cut was the blood orgy in the hell dimension.
Yes.
That the first crew was having before they slaughtered each other.
Yeah.
So.
If you want to cure your son of that perception of Dr. Grant, show him 1981's Possession, and he'll be good with Event Horizon after that.
Even Final Conflict.
Yeah. I was gonna say, has he seen the Final Conflict?
But that's just it, though. The first thing he ever saw him in was in Jurassic Park. So every time he sees him, no matter what movie it is, that's Dr. Grant. That is like burnt. When he was 3 years old, we watched that movie, I don't know, literally twice a day sometimes. You know how kids are. Let's watch it again. If
your son watches the Final Conflict, he'll be repeating this in his head for probably the rest of his life. Bring me the Nazarene.
Like, holy shit. Dr. Grant's the Antichrist.
Exactly, yeah. And who's the Nazarene? But anyway.
Final Conflict, horrible third chapter of The Omen, but I love it because it's horrible. It's just one of those movies for me that's such a disappointment. It's so bad it's good for all the wrong reasons. First 2 Omen flicks I enjoyed. Third one, not so much, but it's a train wreck.
It's so imaginative that you want to like it, but the movie just doesn't live up to what we want it to be.
Exactly.
Like you can see where that would be the right place to go with it, but the movie just doesn't.
I do like.
And then the boss fight at the end is a real letdown.
Yes.
Woman wakes up and says, "Hey, what's that? I'm going to stabby."
I do like one of the kills in it a lot, though. The one where he's on the talk show and the guy gets caught up in the plastic that's on fire. I mean, that is absolutely brutal. That is so nasty, but I love it.
But I'm the opposite. I tell my son, no, you don't understand. Dr. Grant is Damien, because that's the first thing I ever saw Sam Neill in was Omen 3. Final Conflict. So yeah, every time I see it, so I kind of understand where he comes from with that, because to me it made sense with Event Horizon because he's home.
There you go. That's true.
It's full circle here.
Yeah.
There's a theory that Event Horizon is somehow related to Pandorum.
Yeah.
You know the movie Pandorum? I like that theory a lot. I think it fits together perfect. I do. I like it a lot. I think it's a great theory. Look it up, people.
Yeah, I bought Pandorum recently, or I bought Pandorum after I heard about that theory. It's the same people who produced Event Horizon.
Yeah.
And I mean, it could easily take place in the same universe. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I've not had a chance to sit down and watch it yet. But as far as Event Horizon has gained a pretty sizable fan base over the years, so it is well regarded film among horror fans, so I'm looking forward to checking out the Blu-ray.
Me too. I want to get it. I'm going to get it.
It's finally out after it got postponed at least once or twice, I know, but it's finally out there now.
So you haven't taken a look at it yet?
Nope, not yet. Not yet. Just got it today.
Awesome.
I saw it in theaters. I remember nothing about it.
I love it.
I don't know. I might have. I don't remember.
It really, I think it, like when you see, I don't want to crap on Paul W.S. Anderson too much here. And again, I may be the world's biggest Paul W.S. Anderson fan because I've liked most of his movies, even the ones that most people really hate. But I mean, this was like his first big movie that a lot of people saw. And I mean, it really kind of like, I remember at the time people being like, man, this Anderson guy, he may be something. And then it was like, it kind of went downhill a little bit, but
yeah, I consider myself a fan. I can't defend some of his works, but I can enjoy them.
Yeah.
There were a lot of very forgettable outer space themed sci-fi horror movies around that period. I mean, Supernova and Red Planet and stuff like that. But I mean, Event Horizon had a hell of an edge. I mean, that movie is. I would love to see the missing footage. I think that's so sad, but it's still there. I mean, I remember like more sci-fi fans going to see that and then getting Hellraiser in space, which was pretty jarring and it was funny to watch. So yeah, I look forward. I still have my Blu-ray coming, so I will be popping it in.
I remember back in the day, there was like a big making of for it on HBO or Cinemax. I don't remember. And they were showing off all the sets and how the sets looked phenomenal and the practical sets. There's some CGI in there that probably not going to look good by today's standards, but the sets and stuff were just absolutely phenomenal.
Some of that stuff actually influenced Silent Hill 4. There's a lot of stuff in Silent Hill 4, the game, that is actually comes from that movie, like that big room with the big spinny thing in the middle, where the portal is. That's actually in Silent Hill 4. I think it's pretty cool.
Cool. And listen, I'll defend Soldier all day. I love Soldier.
Oh yeah,
I love Soldier.
Me too.
Love
That's
that
a good
movie.
flick. I like it.
No one ever talks about that movie.
What are you going to do to them? I'm going to kill them all, sir.
Sir.
Oh, I love that.
I love it.
Great movie. Let's move on here and let's talk about, actually Lorne we've got a video submission from Lorne and we're all
not even supposed to be here today.
but this may actually be a little test for something that we've been thinking about, in the future. So we'll see how this goes. Lorne has submitted a video and Lorne is going to be here to discuss it with us. So here we go.
Next time you get together in person or online with fellow horror fans, take out your cell phone and bring up the stopwatch feature. Then, without any context whatsoever, say Halloween 3 and start the timer. I promise you that you won't hit a minute before someone declares that everyone hated it when it came out, but they've always loved it, and that it would have done better had it only been titled Season of the Witch. Can we stop doing this? It sometimes seems that as a community we're programmed in some kind of a diabolical Pavlovian dog chasing Schrodinger's cat sort of way. Do we really need to keep repeating these things ad nauseum? We've all heard them. We all agree with them. They're cool little tidbits of knowledge, but do they do anything for our conversation once you've heard them for the 35th time? Wouldn't we rather never hear again that they used chocolate syrup for blood in Psycho? That because of Jason Goes to Hell, Jason is technically a Deadite, that Stephen King doesn't like Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, that Nosferatu only blinks once in the entire film, that the shark is named Bruce, and the only damn reason he's not on screen more is because that the rig didn't work. Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based on Ed Gein. Michael Myers was originally supposed to wear a Richard Nixon mask, and the whole fucking movie doesn't work without the score. Technically, Paranormal Activity is the most successful film ever made, cost to profit, and Chucky was originally supposed to be all in Andy's head. Psycho was the first time a toilet was shown flushing. can we just stop this? This is all well known and it's just become so rote. It's like saying bless you after a sneeze. You're not really blessing anyone by saying that, are you? And you're not really scared that they have some life-threatening respiratory infection either. We have a lot to talk about in the horror community. We've all had different experiences with the movies we've watched, the books we've read, and the experiences we've had. These factoids do nothing but give us an excuse to bob our head in agreement at about the same time. It's like some perverted game of duck, duck, goose that we play. So next time when you're having a conversation with friends, please don't be tempted to mention that Bill Paxton is the only actor to be killed by an alien, the Predator, and the Terminator. Well, I mean, Lance Hendrickson probably would have a qualm with that. But anyway, just tell them about a time when you were a kid and you caught this flick on late night cable and it really stuck with you and it's changed the way you thought about film. Tell them about that book you read that really you haven't been able to get the plot out of your head since you originally sat down to read it. Defend something that gets trashed too often, or even maybe pick up a pen or a camera or a microphone and create something that the next generation can then find some small factoid about to repeat endlessly to the point where they'll annoy the hell out of all their friends.
All right. Well, I'll tell you one thing. When someone sneezes in my presence, I don't bless them. I dash holy water in their face. So that's
well, at least that's consistent.
That's what I do.
Start performing the Roman ritual immediately.
Maybe you gotta douse them with Germ-X in their face.
It's true. It's true. Holy water works better though.
Whip out that can of Lysol and go to work.
Yeah.
Garrett's in the chat. Born to be rad. Everybody go check out his channel and subscribe. But yeah, I actually really agree with a lot of what Lauren said there. I think y'all go ahead, chime in.
I just think it really shuts down the real conversations. Like before we can talk about how we actually experienced Halloween 3, we have someone jump in there, tell us how everyone felt, and that's the end of the conversation. And I'd rather us be able to just have real conversations about our lives, not just reiterate crap that we all read or saw in the same DVD extra back 20 years ago. I think that we're a better community than that. And I think I care more about people's experiences than I do about these factoids. That's for damn sure.
I would hope those factoids would be more of a conversation starter where somebody could say, Halloween 3, it could have been more successful. It was Season of the Witch and it didn't have Michael Myers in it and everybody hated it. But upon further review, if you really watch the film, it has things to offer that the rest of the series doesn't. And then you could go into the things that it actually does bring to the table besides Tom Atkins. I mean, that's all you need right there.
Yeah.
Halloween 3 is great because he's in it, but Dan O'Herlihy is a great villain. I think it's his name. Am I right about that, Cochran? Okay.
Dan
Yeah. Great actor, scene stealer. Maybe he's the happy, jolly old man, but very sinister when he wants to be. And his story about Samhain and just the gleeful way in which he goes about his work there's a lot to love about that movie, in spite of the obvious things that we all talk about with it.
I guess I'm just tired of videos popping up on YouTube every day that's 10 facts about Halloween 2. Right, and it's the same crap over again and again.
I kind of look at that as like surface thinkers. They're only looking at the surface and they haven't bothered to allow themselves to see the entirety of the forest because they're too busy looking at the few trees in front of them. It's like their imagination does not allow them to go farther than that. Or maybe these creators don't think people actually care about the trees behind the trees and they're just trying to get views.
Well, I think too that a lot of those videos sort of play toward the horror normies who maybe are only searching horror on YouTube around Halloween or something like that. And I mean, for us hardcore,
that's where you get the.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were freezing up. I didn't mean to talk over you.
Oh, sorry. But yeah, I think for us hardcore horror fans, I mean, it's kind of like when you watch, an interview with John Carpenter about Halloween. You know all the stories. You've heard all the stories. You see that John Carpenter could care less because he's talked about this movie for 50 years. So he has no enthusiasm to talk about it anymore. You know, so I mean, I kind of get it, and I think that can spill over into, you know, we're all hardcore horror fans. We know, you know, everything that there's. We've heard the stories. We've all, you know, talked about, oh, Halloween 3 would have been better if it just called Season of the Witch, or, you know, blah blah blah. But and I think if we open up a new dialogue, maybe we can expand our horror vocabulary to include other movies than just the, you know, the Halloween 3s and the Psychos and so on and so forth.
Like, why can't we talk about how Psycho 2, while maybe not as classic as the original, because nothing could be, is still a very worthwhile sequel.
It's an excellent movie.
Mm-hmm. And in and of itself is an excellent film, and actually one that I prefer to watch it's my go-to Psycho film. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, but everybody else is going to just talk about the shower scene or the chocolate syrup, or because the world didn't open. I always thought I was, you know, like we always say, we thought we were alone in the way we feel about these movies until we got on the internet and met other people that thought the way we did, and again, our world opened up because we were just used to the small amount of humans we were around in our own little, you know, echoverse or whatever you want to call it, you know, your little physical limitation world. The first time that opened up for me was when I went to my first horror convention in 2000. And I was in the room while they were doing a Q&A for Friday the 13th. And I was just gobsmacked. I was mind blown that there were people that were even more rabid about some of these films than I was. And I didn't know these type of people existed. And that was before I got on the internet, right around that time. But we didn't have this platform. You know, there was no YouTube or not even MySpace at that time. There was maybe some chat rooms or something if you really knew where to look. But other than that, it was very minimal. So, you know, that's what was kind of like my Psycho pullback moment. You know, like Spielberg used in Jaws, where it's like everything just kind of, the world gets bigger. You know, it's like, wow, this is amazing. So a lot of times you get used to talking to the normal people that don't watch these movies. And that's all they know is the little factoids that they've read in TV Guide or some magazine or seen in a blurb or something that on the back of a box of a video. But they never bothered to learn anything more because it never really occurred to them, because that's not how their brain works, right? So a lot of these guys that make these videos, they're trying to get views, they're trying to get ad revenue, they're trying to make money. So if you get too obscure and too far and too deep into the minutia, you're going to lose. You're going to lose a lot of the people, and your view count's going to represent that. You may make more interesting content for people like us, but if we don't find you, it might take a while for anything to happen, and you might feel like you're just wasting your time. So in a way, I completely agree with everything you said in that video, but I also understand how that can be conversation starters to pull in people that aren't necessarily as deep as we are.
I don't think, though. I mean, my big point is that I want to know about people's personal experiences. Those tidbits are available; they're out there in the same way you probably first came across them. The first time you read about. Most of us found out about the shark from Jaws being named Bruce was probably we picked up that Jaws log tie-in book or something like that, or you watched a DVD extra. So us repeating them is not very interesting to me because all that's out there and available. But you know what, Mike, the first time you saw Jaws, that's a story I don't know. And I bet there's a lot there to explore. I rather would deal with each other's personal experiences with these movies and these novels and these comic books and these rock albums than just these factoids. I just believe that the better conversation to start begins with, hey, you know, when I was growing up, ...
I get it. You know, of course, Bruce was Spielberg's lawyer. Sorry about that. I had to do it. I had to. But personal experience with Jaws, saw it in the theater because it was common to re-release them when sequels came out. Saw it in the theater before Jaws 2. It was a double feature in the theater. That was a lot for a 10-year-old to grasp, but it was monumental, and that's why Jaws is probably one of my favorite films ever. I got to see Jaws, speaking of that, a couple of weeks ago at a drive-in theater. Amazing experience. I mean, it was amazing. I wish I could have seen it that way the first time, but now I've seen it in every way you could possibly see that movie, except for that damn laser disc that Christian Hanna horror has. That asshole.
That is cool, though.
No, that's an amazing set that he's got, and I would kill to see that because that looks amazing. But I've seen VHS, Beta, TV, theater, DVD, Blu-ray. I saw it in the theater again a couple years ago when it was re-released, and now I saw it at the drive-in. And wow, that's a movie that just doesn't age. It is a true classic to me. It's as good the 100th time as it was the first time, and it's an amazing flick. So that's kind of my personal story with Jaws. That's why it's always going to be in my top 5, maybe my top 1. It might be my favorite movie of all time, just because of when I saw it, how it affected me. Everybody's afraid of the ad campaign, just when you thought it was safe to go in the water and all that kind of stuff, and being consumed alive, I think, is any animal's fear. Why do you think squirrels are nervous, right? Because nobody wants to be consumed while they're still alive, and a shark represents that. That's the apex predator of the ocean, which we are not king of. Like, if a shark comes on land, we can beat the shit out of it, but in the water, it's got a distinct advantage. So, but I know the shark didn't look blah, 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 whatever. It's a great flick. It's expertly made, and it's one of those movies that I can watch over and over again. And I watch it right around the 4th of July every year on Blu-ray anyway. But I was happy to go hop my ass in the car and go out to the drive-in to watch it again, because that was one experience I had not had with the film, and I'm glad I did.
I did it last summer too.
Does anybody?
Now, I want to see it. I want to see it that one place where you actually float around in the water.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Yeah.
That's the experience that I want.
That'd be an experience. Yeah.
As far as these like these countdown videos go, where they're just giving you trite, shallow information, I really do think that is more for clicks. I really do think that. And I also think that, maybe they are very popular, but I think it's because not everybody likes to go so in depth into movie information, maybe as we do. I search out, people like you guys. I search out, information on movies. I will search out good channels that go deeper, I try when I'm talking about movies to, involve myself, to involve my experience with them. I won't, obviously you can't talk about a movie you've never seen, right? So pretty much everything that I talk about is going to have some personal angle to it, because I view everything through, like the lens of my experience. So I think you're right, Lauren. I think that the way to start drawing people into the community is actually to be more personable about ourselves and give more of ourselves to our stories that we're telling about these movies. I mean, it's fine to tell the factoids, and we can all love the factoids, and, we can even add them into our story here and there. But really deep down, using Jaws as an example, obviously Jaws to me is extremely special, because that is the movie that brought me into everything. I saw it at the drive-in with my parents when I was 3. They didn't want me awake. And I did it anyway. I watched it anyway. And it started me out on this path. And I thank God for that every day. So I think that bringing ourselves, our own experiences into what we're talking about is very important.
Yeah.
And also, Lauren, as a music fan, we tend to listen to music differently than your average person that just uses it as background music. Like when I'm listening to a song, I'm listening to all the instruments individually at the same time and how they're working together. Like a cymbal crash at a certain moment can add everything to a song. And most people are just bopping to the beat, or they're singing along because they're only listening to the lyrics. I'll go, did you hear that? What? I was listening to the lyrics, man. And that's what bothered me about the Black Album with Metallica, is that after that album came out, every time they heard a heavy song, that sounds like Metallica. No, it fucking doesn't. It doesn't sound like anything like Metallica. What the fuck are you talking about? But that's you have to deal with some of that sometimes. You just understand that just because I was a kid reading Fangoria and Famous Monsters and all these magazines, trying to find out every little piece of information I could about the films I loved, to most people, I was just the weird kid. So now we're the weird kids, but we're on the internet, but we're still dealing with that surface level type of hype.
My favorite Dave Mustaine interview. Yeah, Lars and I are good. We're friends. Yeah, we're pretty close. Yeah, he's an awful drummer though. ask any good drummer. They'll tell you he's an awful drummer. He's not good. My buddy AJ brings up an interesting point here too, that the videos, such and such a movie ending explained videos. Those are some, I don't want to throw shade on anybody or any genre, but why do you want the ending of the movie explained for you? And so many of those videos I see too, it's like Encino Man ending explained. I don't need that movie, the ending of it explained to me. You know what I mean? Like, what is there to explain? As
clickbait, it's brilliant though, because buried in the title of the video is a suggestion that you don't get it, that there's something more. So you're likely to click on something even though you completely got it, simply because why would they make a video unless there's a deeper meaning? So it's kind of a brilliant marketing ploy, but it's like dumbass to watch,
It's funny because it reminds me of that Twin Peaks Actually Explained video that everybody was going so crazy about there about a year ago, because this guy, Rossiter on Twin Perfect, that's the name of the channel, he did like this 4-hour video explaining all of season 3, and people were like arguing. They're still arguing about it to this day. It really, really ticked a lot of people off, but I liked it. I watched it. The guy put like 2 years of work into the video, and into his work towards the video and all his research. I think it was fantastic, and I think he deserves credit for what he did.
Yeah, Jamie, you know what? That's the opposite of what I'm talking about, right? That's someone digging deep. And that's the thing, like, I agree with most of his video, by the way. Not all of it, most of it, though. But what I'd say is that's the kind of content we need. People who really dig in and give us something full and robust. And they do that because they love it. We can stop with this asinine argument that, don't push your opinion on other people. It's the internet. It's the English language. It was invented for that. We're not pushing an opinion. We're presenting it.
Yes.
And we shouldn't have to say, in my opinion, before we say every goddamn thing that comes out of our mouths. It's obviously our opinion because it came out of my goddamn mouth.
I don't know. I need some help understanding the psychological complexities of Monkey Bone. So, sometimes I need those videos.
Yeah. There's more to that movie than Rose McGowan's cleavage.
A little bit. You'd be surprised.
There's a lot of hidden
depths.
A lot of hidden depths there. There's one little tidbit I'm sure you don't know about, Lauren, and you're gonna be wild right here.
Here it comes.
Did you know that the mask in Halloween was originally a William Shatner Star Trek mask? I bet you didn't know that, did you?
Well, originally it was a Nixon mask, but yes.
But the other choice was possibly a clown mask, which they then put on the young Michael at the beginning.
Yeah.
An Emmett Kelly clown mask. Yeah. Wow. Gosh, man. Let's turn
mind blown.
Let's turn this channel into we all just bring 10 facts about movies to the table. That's next episode.
We broke new ground on that one, guys. Good job.
10 facts about Howling 3, the marsupials.
Oh, God. No, you're not stealing my idea, Lauren. You're not stealing my idea. It was shot in Australia.
Philippe Mora was doing a lot of drugs while making this film. Obviously.
I love Philippe Mora. All right, well done. Let's move on. Let's see what else have we got here. Dan, I believe you've got a review for us this week, do you not?
Yes, I do. I wanted to just do a short review of one that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I think it's very timely in a lot of different ways, and that is the 2008 film from director Bruce McDonald, Pontypool, which, if you're fortunate, I don't know if this is still in print, you can get the all-region Kaleidoscope Blu-ray release. And so this film follows this controversial, kind of disgraced shock jock Grant Maisie, played by great Canadian actor Stephen McHattie. And he's just been kicked off the big city airwaves and is now taking an early morning host job at a small town radio station in sleepy Pontypool, Ontario. And what's unique about this film, it's based on the Tony Burgess novel Pontypool Changes Everything, which is actually quite different. And just going back to an earlier point, I actually think the movie is better than the novel in this case, which is rare but does happen. And it differs in the sense that the book was written from the point of view of the infected. I think this movie is very unique and overlooked, and it had a lot of issues at the time and split fans because it shuns both the Romero zombies and the pre-Romero West African voodoo lore. And, it got a lot of heat because it just wasn't the typical gut munchers that we've all grown accustomed to. And it focuses on the power of language to infect and alter our minds. Very much gets into media or media personalities spinning the news to suit their own purposes and just how that can alter a person. It's a very deep movie. I feel like obviously we had the big zombie boom, in the last 15 years or so, and we've gotten tons and tons and tons of Romero style zombie flicks, most of which aren't great, but occasionally we get surprised with something. But I really love this film. I had a long discussion with somebody last night about it. Tony Burgess initially found the inspiration as a homeless teen in California who was disconnected from society, not able to really properly speak, communicate with his fellow human beings. And I this one always bugged me because there's just so many, all the conversations seem to be, well, is it really a zombie flick? You could say it is, you could say it isn't. I think it's irrelevant because it's a very intelligent horror film, and it's laced with dread. It's a great winter horror film for you to check out, and tackle so many hot button issues. This was a planned trilogy. Unfortunately, that never happened. I'm kind of glad it didn't because I think it would have suffered from the Cube effect, where the sequels to that movie really over-explained everything and just might have ruined some of the mystique that this film has. It's not a humorless film. Stephen McHattie has some hilarious moments in this film. His real life wife Lisa Hull plays his producer, and they have great chemistry, obviously. I find a lot of people haven't seen it. It shouldn't be forgotten because, again, 2021, this movie is very relevant, and you'll be entertained, you'll be creeped out, and you will also be able to really converse with each other afterwards about what it's about, what the trigger word is in the film. It's a rabbit hole flick. I rewatched it just recently, and anybody out there that hasn't had the pleasure of checking it out again, it is on DVD. I think the DVD is still relatively easy to find, but if you can get a hold of this Kaleidoscope Blu-ray, which again, all regions, so you're covered, it has the Pontypool original radio play, which is a cool little feature that they have. Really good commentary tracked and some shorts. Check this one out, guys. Don't be limited whether you're a Romero zombie person or you like to much like me go back to some of the classics like I Walked with the Zombie, White Zombie, Plague of the Zombies on the Hammer side of things. Those are all fantastic films and another discussion I'll have down the line. But check this one out. Have a good conversation about it. I think you will enjoy it. And Stephen McHattie does not get he's one of the best actors in our genre right now. Doesn't get a lot of attention. The face, but a lot of people can't place the name, and he's just amazing in this. So please, by all means, check it out and let us know what you think of it. I'm curious.
Is Is it as good as Howling Through the Marsupials?
Ooh, that's a high
How
bar.
could it be?
Is it better than Revolt of the Zombies?
It is better than Revolt of the Zombies, I think. Yes.
Is picking your nose with a chainsaw better than Revolt of the Zombies?
I've heard of Pontypool. It was on my list to watch for a long time, but I just never got around to watching it.
I think you may enjoy it. Like I said, it splits people, but I think this is one of those films I'm hoping can have a bit of a resurgence because, again, it's more topical now than it was in 2008. And it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's a really intelligent film.
I have yet to see that one. I'm gonna look it up after we're done here and see if I can find it.
Yeah, let me know what you think, Jamie. I'd be curious to get your take on it.
Yeah, I'm not a big zombie movie fan, but I do like a few.
The lore is different here. Yeah, it's very different.
It's different enough that you're not gonna have the same trope issues.
Yeah.
I don't want to say what I want to say. Dan understands. There's a key difference.
Well, if it's gonna give anything away, don't say
I'm
it.
not gonna do it.
I want to go in blind. I like that better.
Yeah, going blind.
The Blind Dead is a completely different thing.
Tombs of the Blind Dead, one of my all-time favorites.
Absolutely.
So, but yeah, different from this.
Now, who's the director of this one?
Bruce McDonald. And I think you will like it, Jamie. I really do. I think this is one that you would particularly enjoy.
Cool. I'm going to look it up. That sounds like something I need to watch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll have to put it back on my list. And this may begin a whole other conversation of non-traditional zombies.
Yeah.
Right? Non-traditional zombie movies, non-Romero style zombie movies, or Return of the Living Dead style zombies. So
there's a lot out there. It's a weird subgenre where people are like so caught up on, are they fast, are they slow? Right. Just give me a compelling story, and that's all I need. I don't care if you tinker with the lore a little bit. It doesn't bother to me.
And then you have all the you made reference to the West African zombie tradition from early cinema, which is a whole different monster entirely.
Absolutely, yeah. God, those films. I Walk with the Zombie.
I Walk with the Zombie is the key, the entry point for a lot of people into that cycle. Yeah, they're amazing, much more lyrical movies.
Yes.
Less visceral. Yeah.
Yes.
Not on the level of Burial Ground, but what is? What is?
City of the Living Dead is on the level of Burial Ground.
Yeah, it's right up there.
I mean, spandex, gymnastic television show invaded by the infected.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I love it. We could talk about that because this is a different kind of zombie too. There's zombies running around with weapons, and you know what I mean. It's different.
Absolutely.
Kind of,
Lindsay for the win.
That may be something we may discuss that film more in the future, and it would be fun to do.
Absolutely.
But, very nice, very nice. Well done, Dan. Mike, what have you got for us this week?
Well, I had originally talked about Jaws a few minutes ago at the drive-in. That was my main purpose for going. I've been trying to get to the drive-in more often. My love for the drive-in experience, that's pretty much become the way I want to experience films from now on. $6 to get in. Just 2 movies. They got cheap concessions. You got your own private space. You're not bothered by people talking or looking at their fucking phones or whatever they're doing besides watching the movie. It's like, hey, assholes, I paid to watch this. Shut up, But it's like movie theaters are so expensive now anyway. By the time you even get sat down, you've already spent way too much money.
Yeah.
Drive-ins are great. But the first feature with Jaws that I decided to go ahead and watch anyway, even though I had, was E.T. Now, I haven't seen this film in 15 years, and it is what it is. I saw it in the theater in 1982. I didn't expect, but I had forgotten that's not a bad flick. I actually sat there and found, except for Elliot's voice, I wanted to reach into the screen and strangle that person because, God damn, I'm sure he hit notes that made dogs want to kill people. Screeching, man. But actually, I thought it was a pretty well-made flick, and I'd forgotten about it. I haven't seen it in about 15 years, kind of wrote it off, and so I enjoyed it. Next week, it's a double feature. I'm really hoping I can carve some time out to go check it out, but it's Howard the Duck with Weird Science.
Good combo.
That's a good combo. I mean, Howard the Duck is marvelously horrible. It's horrible, and I love it because it's horrible.
Yeah. That love scene is classic.
Of course, it's got Leah Thompson in it. I mean, she's my 80s crush, so and she's good enough reason to watch it right there.
It didn't knock her down a peg or two?
No.
Making love to a duck?
That was so weird to see in the theater with my mom.
It was gloriously horrific. I don't know. I love that movie in spite of itself. Now, it's also a film that might be problematic nowadays to modern audiences, which I find even more entertaining.
And here's a tidbit that you all may not know. Without Howard the Duck bombing as hard as it did and sending Universal into such financial constraints, we may not have gotten Jaws the Revenge. So God bless Howard the Duck.
And people shit on that movie. See what it did? Right there. Come on.
I want to see the 2021 reboot where Gary Oldman makes love to the duck.
Wow.
That's what we need to see.
Why not? Damn. There, let's do it. But Weird Science is another one of my favorite films of the 80s. Love it or hate it. I mean, Oingo Boingo. The cast is great. Paxton. I don't know. To me, it's probably a film that would again be considered problematic by today's audiences, but it's a comedy. People, can we lighten up a little bit? Nobody got hurt. It's entertaining. It's just funny. There was no damage done to anybody permanently. It was just a stupid movie. I don't know. I love Weird Science, so that's definitely a double feature that I'm thinking about checking out just because why not? I mean, how batshit insane is it in 2021 to be able to go to a drive-in and see Howard the Duck and Weird Science? How can you say no? So the drive-in's been an incredible outlet for me as far as being able to, because I love drive-in theaters. I love the experience and just being able to see these old films projected on the screen. It's just, and man, the crowd for Jaws, that place was packed. It was amazing. It was like E.T. had a decent amount of people, but then when Jaws was getting ready to start, it was like all these cars showed up. It was like, wow, that's cool. I was really happy to see that. So yeah, great experience all around. I can't wait to go back, and I'm definitely thinking if I carve out some time to check out that double feature next week. But a movie I wanted to talk about tonight is that sometimes I seek out movies when I'm interested in something like The Shining, right? It's just kind of a dark, heavy, makes you kind of think and wonder about existence or whatever it is that they present to you. But then there's sometimes where you just want some lighter fare and entertainment. And I found one just scrolling through Shudder the other day where I was like, what the hell? This sounds interesting. It's called Necrotronic. It's about a group of necromancers that are born with the magic ability to summon demons and then kill them. A demonic force. I try not to say too much about the plot because I want to leave what plot is there, to be discovered. A demon is discovered that they can possess souls through the internet using a phone game app. So it kind of has a very light Romero-esque social commentary, kind of like Dawn of the Dead with this movie with everybody staring at their fucking phones all the time, allowing the phone to absorb totally absorb their personality, making them zombies. The zombies in the film are way more like Deadites. So it's like a weird combination of like Ghostbusters, Evil Dead, and some people said Matrix, but I don't really see a lot of the Matrix in it. It is very entertaining. It's a very quick paced, very nicely paced 96-minute movie. It's an Australian production. It's hilarious in spots, never boring. The effects are a mixture of practical and CGI, and they're both, I thought, well done. And I was happy to see that. The lead guy kind of reminded me of a Sam Rockwell type actor, but maybe not on that level. But you could still see like Sam Rockwell, maybe from Galaxy Quest, playing this role. I don't know. I thought it was very entertaining. The acting was great. There's a character actor that plays the father of the family. He's been in I forget his name, but he was in 300. He was in Van Helsing. He was in a couple of the Lord of the Rings movies. Once you see him, you'd be like, oh, it's that guy. He's just a character actor. He's in it briefly, but he adds to it. I really enjoyed it. Of course, the necromancers have to band together to bring down this demonic force that's about to absorb 1 million souls through a phone app. That's kind of a Pokemon Go-esque game where you go around catching ghosts with the game, like Pokemon type thing. I was just thoroughly entertained by it. It's a real quick 96 minutes, and just for entertainment value alone, if you just want something to, just make you happy. It's one of those type of movies. It was like I was happy I watched it. Is it as good as Ghostbusters? No. I mean, what why does it have to be? But it's still, for what it is, highly entertaining, and I do recommend it.
I saw it too, Mike, actually. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's been a few months at least, but yeah, and better CG than you will see in Justice League. So that's a very good recommendation for anybody out there that wants to check that out. I love Australian cinema in general.
I've been a big Ozploitation fan myself, yes.
Yeah. It's a fun movie. You should definitely check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's very fast paced. It flies by.
It's got great energy, great comedic timing.
Yeah, I mean there is a lot of CGI in it, but it's almost part of the aesthetic of the movie because it integrates the game concept, and so it's not quite as egregious as something that's relying on the CGI as the thrill. It's really the breakneck speed of the film that's the main attraction, as well as a lot of really fun, quippy dialogue.
Oh yeah, if you think Australian slang and the way they banter is hilarious, then you'll really enjoy it on a whole nother level.
Yes.
It's got the conversational profanity isn't necessarily Rob Zombie levels, but it's definitely there. But I don't think it ever seems out of place. And when it does, it has a comedic effect every time you hear it. It's like, wow, what did you say? That was hilarious.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to look into it. I've not heard of it.
And another trope on YouTube, besides clickbait titles, is that I must say that I'm in no way compensated by Shudder. I was not paid for this review. Okay, and I didn't watch it for free because I've been a longtime subscriber even before Joe Bob came back on Shudder. Okay, so I've been a longtime subscriber. I paid to watch the film because I pay the monthly fee, and I received no compensation for this review.
Shudder gets all the respect in the world from me and I'm not paid by them either, for all the great foreign horror that they get up there that actually gets some traction by being on Shudder. I think they're very important going forward for our genre.
Yeah, I agree. And they've got a great library of movies on there. A lot of great stuff. So,
people discovering what a giallo is maybe right now through Shudder, and that they're bringing that. I love Shudder.
They're saying that Monica Bellucci is in that Necrotronic. I'm sold.
Yeah. Yes, she is.
I love her.
She plays the main villain. She's really good.
Oh, she's a villain. Oh, that's even better. I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah. They just put out a cut of Irreversible that has everything in sequence, which I haven't picked up, but
I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I'm curious though.
No.
I don't.
No.
First of all, I can't watch it again because it was just awful the first time. But
it's a rough
supposed
one.
To be backwards. It doesn't make sense to.
I think it's an extra though. So I'm just curious. It's an overseas release. I still have to pick it up.
Well, what I like to do is I like to set up 2 televisions and 2 Blu-ray players and play The Shining in reverse, forward and backward at the same time,
And then play the White Album over it.
and then play the White Album over. It's a
I don't know what you're smoking, Piz, but could you send me some?
The scary thing is I know what he's referring to.
yeah. This is a thing.
It's a real thing.
It's a thing.
Yeah, it's like the Dark Side of the Moon Wizard of Oz thing.
Yeah, but at least that kind of works.
It
by
does
accident.
kind of work a little bit.
But yeah, no, the Shining thing really is stretching.
Big stretch. Yeah. Well, let's talk about what we're doing on our individual channels. Let's plug our individual channels here. And Dan, I know we mentioned at the beginning of this show that you over on Flesh Wound Horror, you guys recently celebrated your 500th episode. What have you guys got coming up over on the Flesh Wound Horror channel, and where can we find you?
Well, we're Flesh Wound Features here on YouTube, and we've got, well, we always have a ton of stuff in the works, but we're going to be reviewing a bunch of Vinegar Syndrome Blu-rays coming up here shortly. We've got some commentaries in the works and all sorts of things, and I'll throw it out there. Communicate with us through social media. We're always open for suggestions and any recommendations you may have as well. So yeah, check us out.
Very cool. What's going on over on your channel, Jamie?
Twin Peaks Tuesdays is going to be starting in April. Other than that, I don't have a set plan, but I do plan to start reviewing movies very soon. So once Twin Peaks Tuesdays gets going, I'm going to be starting to do some separate reviews of some different stuff that I have in my collection. I'm going to focus on mostly what I have in my collection so that I can show how personal it is to me. Other than that, it's going to be live streams. I'm going to be doing surprise live streams here and there. But I'm getting going. It's slow going, but it's going.
Yeah, cool.
Awesome.
Very cool. And what's your channel called?
Jamie's Heart.
Jamie's Heart. There you go. What's going on over on the Visited by Voices channel?
Visited by Voices 1 on Monday the 29th, which is this coming Monday. I'm joined at 8 p.m. by Debbie Roshan for an hour. So if you'd like to speak with Debbie, go ahead, get in the chat and start waiting now, and I'll try and get to all your questions to her. Then on Friday, I have Sam Carlson of the Sheebie-Jeebies podcast joining me for an hour. And then on Monday the 5th, I have Cullen Bunn, the comic book writer. He's worked on Deadpool and Wolverine, but he's for our community, he is best known as the creator of The Empty Man. That's the immediate shows I have scheduled out, but I do have a very exciting roundtable discussion with some very, very, very special guests. That will be a recorded conversation. We're not doing that one live, mostly because it involves several continents. And timing just becomes a nightmare. Mm-hmm. But that's going to be a very fascinating show that's never been attempted anywhere ever before.
Cool. Very cool.
Awesome. I look forward to Debbie and the round table and all those. Those are going to be really good.
Yeah.
Should be fun.
Debbie's cool, man. She's what's her film count up to now? Like 400 movies?
At least.
Yeah. I mean, if she does a convention, she shoots something in the parking lot. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It is.
What's going on with you, Mike?
I'm still a work in progress right now. I'm just exclusively on Regionfree, but I do in the works, but they're not anywhere near ready to be announced. But when they are, I'll be sure to let you know.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. And I've got the Event Horizon Blu-ray review coming out very soon. Loads of other reviews in the works, other things in the works I can't talk about. Had a scheduling conflict with Steven Spielberg, but he's a busy man. He ghosted me
too. He ghosted me too. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine. He's too busy hanging out with Landis and Dante planning that next Twilight Zone movie.
Oh, let's hope. My fingers are crossed. But yeah, let me give some shout outs here. Thank you all for tuning in this week. Let's see, we've got Moses Cobra in the chat. I like that name, Moses Cobra. Very nice. We've got Nico. Nico, always good to see you here. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Robert Long, Mike Barrett. What's going on, Mike? Sean McManus, the Daily Ghost, my buddy AJ, Jan Man Chronicles. Gary North. What's going on, Gary? We got Steak in the chat. What's going on, Steak? Cobra Viper 999. That's a nice name, too. Jess Graham is in the chat. What's going on, Jess? Who else was with us? Lively chatter. My buddy Keith, Captain Halloween. I know Jonathan was here earlier. There's Big Crack Rock. What's up, Big Crack Rock? Horrid Films. Aiden Vavra. Buddy Dave. Yeah, great chat tonight. Yeah, it was a lot of fun tonight. Oh, there's Stingray in the chat. He's still here hanging out. 402-1971 is here. But yeah, thanks for tuning in tonight. And thank you all for joining me tonight. Lauren, Mike, Dan, Jamie, it's always a pleasure. And yeah, we'll see you again in a couple of weeks with a brand new episode of Region Free. If you're not following us on social media, those links are in the description, as well as the link to our Patreon. If you like the show, please consider supporting us over on Patreon. All right, y'all have a great week, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Peace.
Good night.
Watch or be punished.